they plan to make history here this evening.
What's going on, everybody? Week 2 of the NFL season is here. Could we just go ahead and push week 1 out of our sights? I mean, who bets on week 1 anyway? You got to see what they do.
You can't. It's a tough week to bet.
I mean, last year I think I was like a little bit below 500 in the first week. I mean, because preseasons they don't show you anything. So I mean, you don't know what team's out there. Hell, RG3 didn't play the whole pre, and then here you go, boys, just take it over.
Well, it really sounds like we're covering up a bad week last week.
Yeah, it was a little bit bad. It's funny is like we actually did better on the picks we disagreed on personally than we did on the ones we combined. It was sad. I'm sitting there like cringing over that freaking drive at the end of the San Francisco Packer game. Well, I'm like, just stop them. They're just trying to kill the clock, and they don't they kick the field goal, and then what happens? They kick a field goal, and Packers don't cover. Whatever. That was last week.
We do this for fun. Just remember
we
that.
do. Well.
What?
Well, it's not really for fun. I mean, but here's a good thing. We were at the Missouri game Saturday in hell. I don't think it was in Columbia. I think they literally played it right on the outskirts of hell. It was like 96 degrees, hot as shit. I mean, it was so hot you couldn't even drink, and that really just spoiled my fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't say it. We had a good time, but it got hot.
Mm-hmm.
120 medical emergencies, 109 all of last year. They had 120 that day medical emergencies.
Wow.
Yeah, it was that hot. Like it literally, you could fried eggs. But anyway, so Sunday morning I got up, didn't place any bets. Good for us because we weren't that good. But anyway, we're going to get better for you. Before we get started with the ones we disagree on, I'm just going to go ahead and just roll it down. This is the ones we agree on this week. We do disagree on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll get to that here in a second. But, just enjoy this. We will. That was a good pick. I like that. Yeah. After this, everybody will probably tune out. Got Brian's college picks coming up later.
Yeah.
That should be good. How'd you do last week?
2-2.
2-2?
I should have been 3-1.
If you would have stayed away the personal ones.
The Pinkle one, the 2 personal ones, South Carolina and Missouri screwed me. But Missouri had a chance to cover, and they kind of sat on the ball to kill the game.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Ankle.
That's fine. That's his old alma mater.
All right. That's out of the way. You all can tune out now. No. We're just going to sit here and ramble amongst ourselves. First up, we got the Tennessee Titans going to Houston. I've actually got the Titans covering this one. It's a 9.5 points I am getting, and I'm going to take that. I just don't see the Titans all last year seem to play games where they didn't get blown out. They might not won them all, but their games just were boring as hell and low scoring. And look for more of the same here. And if you've got a low scoring game, 9.5 is going to be tough to cover. Arian Foster is still splitting time with the other guy.
Ben Tate.
So you don't know what their running situation is. If you got Arian Foster, I'd probably be a little more scared because you can just feed him the ball, but he's not healthy. I mean, just that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Titans and give me that 9.5 points.
Yeah, I like Houston in this game. Last week against San Diego, they got to a slow start in that game, down 28-7. But they came back. They won the game. Even though Foster's not playing, every snap, Ben Tate's a quality backup. I mean, he's getting the same kind of average carries that Foster gets. I like Houston at home, not as much for their offense. I like the defense. I really like the defense. I think last year Locker was knocked out of the game against Houston. I don't think they had any problems with Tennessee. Now, granted, Tennessee's looks a little better, but it's hard to base it on a game against Pittsburgh because it's just not the same team they used to be. But I like Houston at home here in a pretty convincing win.
All right.
And then the next game we've got Miami traveling to Indianapolis. Indianapolis is favored by 3 points. Indy, I was a little upset with last week.
Yeah, sweating a suicide pick.
Yeah, that's what pissed me off. A game against Oakland, which is not a really good team, and granted, you got a new quarterback in Terrell Pryor. Miami, they played at Cleveland, so that's not telling you a lot. I think last year, Miami went to Indianapolis, if I remember correctly, and it was a very close, like 24-22, something like that. I expect the same thing this year. I like Miami to cover the 3 here, possibly win it.
Yeah, the Miami, this is their second road game in a row, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really think this one's going to be a little tougher. I know the Colts had problems with the Raiders. I don't know if that was just with Pryor being at helm and maybe they didn't really have a solution for it. I think he had over 100 He had over 100 yards rushing. I know that.
112 or something.
A little bit different type of quarterback. It looks like shut down Brian Hartline. You might be fine because he had a decent game last week. Give me the Colts. Give away those 3 points. I really think this one might be a little bit of a better game. You know, this is week 2. I'm not a big believer in the Dolphins. Sorry. But then next up we got here is the Atlanta Falcons hosting our St. Louis Rams. Now, the Rams won the game last week, and we are from St. Louis, if you do not know that. They did not cover, assholes. I mean, yeah.
I picked that one.
He picked them. I picked the Rams. I never
One of my few games I got right.
I literally, was it last year or the year before last? Pick against the Rams, against the spread every time, and you were going to win. I mean, that was magic. I had a little bit of faith, even though I'm still not a big Bradford fan, but they did not cover, but they got the win. That's all that's mattered. But this week, a little bit different. Even with a banged-up receiving corps, Julio Jones, I'm not too worried about. You know, you saw he missed practice the other day. I'm not really. If he's there, he's playing. He's fine. Roddy White, but Harry Douglas came right in. But the big X factor, Steven Jackson, SJ39 on Twitter. I think he's just going to go ape shit in this game. He's got so much to prove, even though it's not in St. Louis. It's in Atlanta. And after that big drop last week, that probably cost the Falcons the game against the Saints. Look for Steven Jackson to have a real big game. You know, Tony Gonzalez, I don't care. I guess that guy's never going to retire. He doesn't need to. I really think the Falcons cover the 7 points easy. It's going to be a tough road game for our St. Louis Rams.
I like what you're saying with Harry Douglas. I think Harry Douglas and Tony Gonzalez would be the two guys that could really have really good games this game. Julio Jones is banged up. Roddy White has a high ankle sprain, so he's limited. What he had 1 or 2 catches last week. Douglas and Gonzalez might be the weapons to go to. With Steven Jackson, it's a known commodity for us. We've practiced against him for how many years now, so we have some knowledge of what he's able to do, what his strengths are, what his weaknesses are. What I base it on, last year, you never really saw the Rams out of a game. To be down more than a touchdown to me is out. I think Atlanta will win this game. I think it's going to be a close game, though. And the reason I say that, what's the strength of the St. Louis team? What's their strongest?
Rushing the passer.
Rushing the passer. What's the weakness of Atlanta? Their offensive line.
I'm guessing you're going to say offensive line.
It's their offensive line.
It was their defense last year.
Yeah, it's their offensive line. If New Orleans, which is not known to have this outstanding defense, can get that kind of pressure on Matt Ryan, I think the Rams can do the same with the young guys they have. So when you have that ability, that's where I think Gonzalez can step in the short, quick passes. I like St. Louis to cover here, and I hope they win, but we'll see. The next game we have up, we've got the Dallas Cowboys going to Kansas City. Kansas City's favored by 3 points. I think Kansas City's a very good team. I think they're probably a year or so away. It's going to take a little time. I'm taking Dallas in this one. I don't know why.
I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't here in a second.
Because I'm going to bring this up later in another pick. Do we have that one on here? We agree on that one, so never mind. Dallas got 6 turnovers last week and barely held on to win the game.
That's what I was going to bring up.
So that part scares me, but I still like Dallas. They're getting 3 points. I got to take Dallas here.
Yeah, the whole last year it seemed like when we watched all the games and like we had, we get down here, we bunker down in the basement, we can actually watch a couple of games at the same time, and we got Red Zone on, which is the greatest channel ever for the ADD, world that we live in now. It seems like every time the Cowboys, the Giants, they play a game like that, it just seems like they got together and they were playing each other, and you didn't see what happened until they got outside their division. And then once they got outside their division, it just seems like they weren't as good as people think they are. So this is the mere fact that with the Cowboys being on the road, coming off that game where they were literally handed a blowout and could not deliver a blowout. They got to win, but whatever. Look for the Chiefs to, if Jamal Charles is healthy now. I do remember him leaving the game, and now I'm sitting here thinking about it. Is Jamal Charles healthy? I did not see anything on it.
And last I saw, he's questionable.
Jamal Charles is in there. Look for a heavy dose of him. I like Alex Smith being their quarterback now. So go ahead and give me the Chiefs. I don't need your 3 points. Next up, we got the Cardinals hosting the Detroit Lions. I'm going to go ahead and take the Lions in this one. Cardinals played the Rams last week, so we got a pretty good look at them because, I watched the whole game. The whole Rams game, I think, for the first time in a long time. Definite upgrade with Carson Palmer. I think he's going to be going up against another team that can get after the passer. And the fact that Calvin Johnson was held to like bullshit nothing last week. Look for him to turn it around. I think Larry Fitzgerald's got an ankle sprain or something like that, but that don't matter. But give me the Lions. I don't need your 2.5 points.
You gonna say it all the time now?
Yep, that's my catchphrase.
That's your catchphrase?
I don't need your points.
I'll take your 2.5 points. I'm taking Arizona in this one. I look at this game, and yeah, I know where Calvin Johnson had 4 catches for 35 yards last week or whatever it was. The one thing I like about Arizona is their defense. The defense is solid. You got Dockett. You still got Patrick Peterson. Patrick Peterson shut down what everyone in St. Louis thought was going to be one of our better receivers in Chris Givens. You heard nothing about him the whole game. He's that much of a game changer. I'm not saying he's going to shut down Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, Calvin Johnson, Givens.
Detroit, it seems like when they go on the road, they're just a different team. And so I'm taking Arizona, their home opener. They did show to me last week that they're a better team than they were last year. They're probably like a 500 team. 7-9, 8-8 is a very possible outlook for them. I like Arizona to take this one at home.
All right.
Next game we've got, this is a good one. San Francisco going to Seattle. Seattle's favored by 2.5. I just look at San Francisco, and when you think of San Francisco and you think of Colin Kaepernick, you know that they don't have Crabtree. So they're like, well, who's he going to throw to?
Anquan!
Yeah, exactly. Anyone else? And then you look at, Green Bay went into that game saying, hey, this guy's going to run all over us. He killed us last year, ran all over the place. He throws for over 400 yards. I mean, Kaepernick can do whatever you give him, he's going to take it. And he, although I like Seattle, and I know they're at home and they just don't lose at home, I'm taking San Francisco to win this game. So I'm going to take your 2.5 points and take San Francisco.
I'm giving away points all day.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sold on Kaepernick, even though he was a stud last week. I think with a defense like Seattle coming back home after a good win in Carolina, it was an ugly game, but a good win. Which I didn't watch the game. I shouldn't even say that. It was a close game, but the fact of the matter, they went all the way to the East Coast, got the win. Now they're coming back home opener. Bitter rival. I think the Seattle cops are having 49er fans, or having cops hidden as 49er fans so that, they can stop some of the violence. I like that. Fuck that. Let them attack them. You come into my house, you should pay. Come into the dome here in St. Louis and watch us tear you a new one. Grandma will be down there with her cane. Like, get out of here, sonny!
Stop standing up there in the game.
Okay, we're down to doing voices.
Yeah, that's pretty sad.
But I really like Seattle. If this was probably 3 points, 3.5 points, I might lean the other way. San Francisco's a good team. I mean, they were in the Super Bowl last year, and they didn't lose anything. And they added some good key components with Anquan, who I'm sure Baltimore was just watching there going like, we didn't need him. Right. Give me Seattle. I don't need your points. Give the 2.5 points away. Last but not least, we got the Monday night game with the Cincinnati Bengals hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. You got to chuckle when you say that because they look laughable. They were horrible last week.
Yeah, it was bad.
I cannot believe that it's just missing what's-his-face that went to Miami. It just cannot be missing him. Something is off. Mendenhall's gone. Was he there last year? I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, he was there, but I think he was hurt.
Yeah, so I mean, they lost some, but they just looked horrible. And give me the Bengals at home. 7 points is huge for a rivalry game like this where you have the Steelers in there, but I really think the Steelers are just garbage. And if you're a Steelers fan, I'm not being personal. They looked horrible. If you can't sit there as a Steelers fan and go like, shit, we're in trouble.
Yeah, I'm taking Pittsburgh. I think it's because it is a rivalry game. And, you lost Foote, you lost Pouncey.
You got Troy all year, Troy Polamalu, though.
Yeah. But, the running back, you got Le'Veon Bell out for another probably middle of October, I think. So your running back situation is a little confusing right now. So Roethlisberger is kind of having to carry the load. But I think in this game, the defense will probably turn around what they did last week. They didn't have a bad game last week, but I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Probably in the teens, maybe 20.
If it's in the teens, my 7 points is fucked.
That's why I'm taking Pittsburgh. My gut tells me I should go Cincinnati, but I'm gonna take Pittsburgh in this in the cover, and we'll see what happens.
All right. What's that noise? It's the Missouri fight song. Time for Brian's college football picks.
Hey guys, week 3 of college football is upon us, and we've got some really good games this week. I'm going to save the best for last, and I think you all know which game that is. Let's start out with UCLA at Nebraska. Nebraska is favored by 3 points. I actually have ties to UCLA. My dad played there a long time ago. Although I am rooting for UCLA because I cannot stand Nebraska. I have to take Nebraska at home here with the 3 points. Next game, we've got Washington, the home of DeMarco Farr, who's a huge booster of them, going to Illinois. I think the game's being played in Chicago. And Washington is favored by 10 points. Although I like Washington to win the game, I'm going to take Illinois in a little bit of an upset here to cover the 10 points. Next game, Vanderbilt, very good team in the SEC. A lot of teams outside of the SEC probably don't realize that. They're going to South Carolina. They're coming off a very disappointing loss to Georgia. Defense isn't looking as good as it was last year. I expect them to show up this game. South Carolina is favored by 14.5 points. I like Vanderbilt to keep this game a little closer than 14.5, maybe 10 points or so. So I'm going to take Vanderbilt to cover. I like Carolina to win. Next game, you got another upstart in the SEC, Mississippi, going to a former Big 12 school rival of Missouri and Texas. Texas is favored by 3 points. They just fired their defensive coordinator. Offense has not looked sharp. They've had some injuries. I like Mississippi to cover the 3 and possibly win this game. And then last but not least, Alabama, favored by 9 points at Texas A&M. Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football. Don't know if it's going to be that much about Johnny. I think it's really going to come down to does Texas A&M's defense show up? We know Alabama has a good defense, and they have a very good offense. Not a great offense, but a good offense. I like A&M to cover here, 9 points. They can win the game. I really think Alabama will win this. I think they want payback for last year. But I'm going to take A&M to cover, Alabama to win.
Boy, that Brian's impressive, ain't he?
And hot.
All right, last but not least, we have our suicide pick of the week. We are still in the suicide pool for $100,000.
It's bad with our picks. We got that one game barely right.
And we had to sweat the shit out. Here's I get a text from Brian in the middle of the thing. He's like, I don't even remember what you said. Something like failing. Suicide pick failing.
Right.
And then Andrew Luck runs and scurries and gets that touchdown. We're like, yay. This week it was up between a couple of them. We wanted Oakland playing that shitty-ass Jacksonville team with Chad Henne as quarterback now. Or we had the Ravens with their home opener, Super Bowl celebration game. Drum roll, please. We are going to take the Ravens this week. Can't see them going 0-2. I mean, if they do, they're in a world of hurt. And I know they need to just feed the ball to Rice. Cleveland, right? And who we're playing? Cleveland this week. First home game. I just can't see him losing it. So we're going to go ahead and take the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
That's all we got this week. He's off to play poker. I'm off to edit this video. No Cat this week, even though he was around here. I don't know if I hit some fucking flicker to light the little bastard was over here.
That Cat better not get back up here again.
Cat's actually 1-0 because he tried to stop Brian from picking the Broncos last week. So we're going to say the Cat had the Ravens the whole way.
He cut me, I swear. I'm going to tear that pussy up.
Uh-oh. See you guys next week.
Take care.